Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and welcome to PlayLoad. This is all my video game pickups for the month of June 2018. So, in case it isn't obvious just looking here, not that much video game stuff, particularly games themselves. Only a few, one of which I actually bought, most of which were actually little freebie things. So if you don't care about the rest of this stuff, which is basically all E3 promo merch, feel free to skip to the time code and just look at the actual games. No problem, I understand. Otherwise, hopefully you stick around and watch all the cool stuff. All right, thank you very much. So yeah, like I said, I got to go to E3 as media. Just a little side story about E3. A lot of people who've never been there, and I thought this for the longest time too, that it was just kind of like a big thing where you just go and you play a bunch of games early, which there's some of that, but really, if you're the public, you're just gonna go and wait in lines all day. You're lucky to get 2 or 3 games in. I went as media, so my job is just to go through a whole bunch of meetings and just try to secure footage, and you do play stuff, of course, but you record it and you talk to people and just kind of movers and shakers type of stuff of the behind the scenes of the gaming industry. But yeah, so that comes with perks and it comes with downsides, of course, but either way, I got to go to E3, which was very awesome, and walked away with some freebies. So I thought I'd go ahead and show you guys what those are. First and foremost, here's my badge. It's got a little cardboard thing back there, an advertisement for Valkyria Chronicles 4, which is a big Sega title. It's coming up. And at the same time, the lanyard this year was a Nintendo lanyard. So it's got artwork for Mario and Link and Splatoon characters and Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers and all this stuff. So very, very cool. Little side story about that though. So at one point I had to walk into the main hall. And I was walking past the door at about noon. I was media, so I was in at like 9 a.m., no problem. But the public gets in at noon, and I walked past that door on in the direction of where Super Smash Brothers was at the exact moment the public got in. So it was kind of like that scene in The Lion King, where Simba's down there, and all of a sudden the herd of elk or whatever is coming, antelopes, whatever it is. It was like that. Oh, that was a scary moment. Basically, a whole bunch of people like, Smash Brothers! I'm like, oh shit. But yeah, so that's my little Smash Brothers story. No, I never actually got to play it. There was no time for that shit, and I got no connections to Nintendo, so nothing there was gonna make that any easier. But there you go, lanyard. A couple other lanyards and things. A buddy of mine who works at Take-Two. Take-Two is the parent company of 2K and Rockstar. Hooked me up with this. This really means nothing now. It's just a guest pass to get into the Take-Two booth, where it was just kind of, how do I describe this? The Take-Two booth, Take-Two didn't really have any games to show off this year, so their booth was weird because it was like a hotel lobby in the middle of regular booths. In fact, it had a bouncer. You couldn't get in unless you were an employee or had a scheduled meeting or you just had one of these passes. So my buddy just gave me these passes. He's like, you just wave that at the bouncer, you go right in, you have all the free food and drinks you want. And I was like, all right. So there you go. Anyway, so that was that. I got some other stuff here, just random items. I got to go randomly to the Xbox conference. An employee at Microsoft, Chris Charla, actually, he's like the head of the ID at Xbox division. I'd actually met him before, I've even talked to him at a couple of different conventions. I chatted with him about this convention. He said, yeah, why don't you come on up and see if I can get you into the Xbox conference, and he did. So there you go, I got to go into there. Very, very neat. And on top of that, I also got to go to the Ubisoft Conference, which I get to go to a lot of Ubisoft stuff. I have a very good working relationship with them, and so they let me not only go to their conference, but their VIP showcase lounge after the conference. You basically go and you can play all the games, and you get a whole bunch of food and whatever. It's a lot of fun. If you're into the YouTube scene or just the gaming scene in general, you'll see a lot of people who familiar faces just wandering around there, like Angry Joe wanders around in there, and stuff like that. It's just very, very cool. So. Did get to go to the Bethesda conference, which was probably the biggest surprise, because I don't really have much of a relationship with Bethesda, though they've reached out to me now, apparently, and then they said, hey, do you want to come to our conference? Now, they didn't have, badges, but they had these little wristbands, which I kept mine, and then they gave out this wristband when you were actually at the event, the conference. It was just attached to your chair, and it has no purpose now. But at the time, these are all this basically is a little wristband. It's it's lit, or it has a light in it, and they could control the color scheme in the room. So if they wanted to make them all blue and light up at the same time, they could do that, or red, or green, or whatever. But it doesn't do anything without someone controlling it remotely. So now it's just a little wristband memento, I guess. So that's cool. Now at the end of conferences, again, I got to go to the Microsoft one, the Ubisoft one, and the Bethesda one. At the end of conferences, a lot of the times companies will give away just like free stuff. Now in the case of Bethesda, they didn't, because they had this big party there as well. So free food, free drinks, open bar, all that kind of stuff. They had a couple like freebies that I didn't really take. I mean, I took some, but like I gave them to a buddy, a bunch of like Fallout stuff, like little party masks and party hats and stuff like that. Nothing super exciting. The best thing they had was that blue Quantum Cola that they did as a promo a while back. They were just giving those away, but I couldn't bring them back because I didn't have checked luggage on the plane. So I drank a couple. It was pretty good. And then I gave my buddy one of those. But aside from that, no like swag, if you will, from them. Ubisoft, on the other hand, gave out a couple of items. They gave out this. This is an Ash figure from Rainbow Six Siege, which was, I have a soft spot in my heart for this game because it was the first like media event I was ever invited to, was for Rainbow Six Siege. And they also gave away this hat, which was very cool. Now the hat's actually nicer than you'd think. On the bottom, it actually, under the cap part, it actually has a whole bunch of logos from various games they showed off at the conference this year, so that's very nice. Microsoft one was the saddest one. I talked to multiple people after that conference was over, and long story short, they basically told me like, you really picked the wrong year to go to an Xbox conference. And I was like, why? And they're like, Xbox conferences usually give amazing stuff away at the end. And I'm thinking like, you know, okay, maybe they give away a controller or something, you know, something at best, and even that seems like psychotic. And they were like, oh no. Last year they gave everyone vouchers for free Xbox One X's when they came out. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh yeah, and the year before that, it was free Xbox One S's. They just do that. And I was like, holy shit, you know, like, did I miss it? What did they give away this year? They're like, this year they had a gift shop. They didn't give anything away. I was like, oh. So hopefully that changes, I guess, and hopefully I get to be more formally invited rather than being kind of a last minute thing, but we'll see. Maybe I can work that out. So moving on, there was a day there I made very public on my various social media platforms that I was going to be there at the Sega booth on Wednesday. I had all like, I had Ryo Hazuki, well, Corey Marshall, who's the voice of Ryo Hazuki from Shenmue, my favorite game of all time. He plays the main character. I asked him if he wanted to come out and be part of this video I was making, along with Liesl Wilkerson, who actually voiced some of the characters in Shenmue 2. And we filmed a video at the Sega booth, and it was a lot of fun. You guys will see that video very soon. It's the basic premise of the video is just that Corey plays Ryo and just asks people questions as Ryo. Like, a lot of them are quotes from the actual game, just to see people's reactions and see like who gets it, who doesn't, you know, that kind of thing. It's pretty funny. But hanging around the Sega booth, Sega and I now have a functional working relationship, as I'm sure a lot of you have noticed. So small potatoes, but it was nice of them to do this. They just gave me a Sonic Team Sonic racing air freshener, which made me really sad because I got to hang around their booth like all day and I wanted to play this game and I just couldn't do it. Funny thing is, I've known about this game for a long time. Like, the amount of stuff I know that Sega's working on is like, but I can't talk about any of it. But I've known about this game for a while, so I wanted to finally play it, but I just couldn't have a chance. But nevertheless, I got a air freshener for it, so that's pretty sweet. Moving on, some other random things. One of the coolest pickups I got, which was completely unexpected, was this, well, I'll just show it to you. This is an autographed Marsai HDMI cable. Now that might require some explanation, and it requires enough that I'm actually going to give this its own video. I will give you the super elevator pitch though right now. This is a cable with an additional processor in it. So it's not like a traditional like HDMI cable, you just plug it into the console, plug it into the TV, and you're done. This has an additional processor in it designed to basically rewrite and redraw the image as it gets it and upgrade it. Think of it as like an upscaler, but it's not that simple. And they would probably yell at me for even saying it that way. But I've seen multiple tests with this thing in person. It is seriously impressive as a piece of technology what this cable does to improve video signals. It really is. But again, it's gonna get its own video. The guys who made this thing were cool enough to give me one of these. I just walked by their booth and we were just talking for a while, and he was just kind of, you know, pitching like what it was. And he had been doing that clearly for a lot of time. Like, this dude was an engineer, he was very passionate about what he made, he just didn't really know how to like present it to people, other than just like show them. After it was all over, he was used to people just kind of being like, okay, okay, cool, and just going away because he didn't know what to do. I started asking him like actual questions. I was like, does it handle this? Does it do that? And he was like, holy shit, someone who gets it. And so he gave me one and he even autographed it, which is just funny. So yeah, I will be doing a video on this at some point, probably later this month. So thank you over to the guys over at Marsai Cable. Moving on. I got a couple, one of the things you get commonly at E3, I've noticed, because this is now my second year and they're starting to pile up, is phone chargers. Not a bad thing. Phone chargers, everybody's on their phone at E3, everybody's working, everybody's conducting business, everybody's contacting other people, setting up meetings. Everybody is sitting around messaging people they're not with. To get to people that they won't talk to, because by the time they get to them, they're going to be messaging other people. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what E3 is. It's very weird. But anyway, so a lot of companies give out like promo, you know, phone chargers because it's a great way to advertise because people always need phone chargers. So I got a couple from Bethesda actually. I got one for Quake Champions. When I got to the conference, they were just making them rain with these things. They're just handing them out to people. I only took one. I didn't want to be an asshole. But yeah, so I got one of those. And then later I actually had a meeting with Bethesda at their booth where I got to play Rage 2 and Elder Scrolls Blades. And afterwards they just gave me another one which happened to be Prey. So yeah, so I got a couple of chargers there. The other place where I got a charger, and this is by far the best charger I've ever got, is for Dying Light 2. I had a meeting with Techland. Now Techland let us see a behind the scenes, like a completely closed demo of Dying Light 2. We couldn't play it. Couldn't get footage of it. We could just watch it and let them show us, you know, the game. But when we got there, they just handed us this bag. I mean, look at this bag. It's awesome. And inside of it, it just had a few items, one of which was this charger. We also had a couple other random things. There's a wristband in there, as well as like this little, I forget, these like bike lock type of things with a compass on it, keychain, as well as a t-shirt. But unfortunately, I definitely can't fit in this t-shirt. This is a size like S. Like this is literally for kids. Like I can't wear this at all. But it says, I saw it first. So it's cool. Very awesome. And then the only other t-shirts I got, I believe were all, no, I was gonna say they were all Ubisoft. They're not. One of which I got was for a game called Mutant Year Zero Road to Eden. We just walked into their booth and just started talking to them. We played the game for a bit, and then at the end they just gave us a t-shirt, so very cool. And then Ubisoft hooked me up with a couple of shirts. First was Trials Rising. I gotta admit, at first I didn't really think much of this game. I wasn't like, oh shit, I can't wait, but it was like whatever. But then I played it. It's really fun. It's a really fun fucking game. I really was not expecting that. This might have been my game at E3. Like, of all the stuff I actually got to play, this might be the one I had the biggest blast with. It's basically like Happy Wheels, and especially when you play with two people. It's just so much fun. So that was really, really cool. That one surprised steal of the show. I was not expecting that. And then the other one I got another shirt for was Skull and Bones. Now, to astute viewers of mine, I actually played a demo for Skull and Bones last year. And I loved that game so much that I actually showed up with the old Skull and Bones shirt to this, and they're like, "Holy shit, you have the OG Skull and Bones shirt! Yeah, we got to give you a new one." So they gave me like one of the ones that like the tech team had. So that was very cool of them to do. So there you go, Skull and Bones. Really like that game as well. Looking forward to playing more of that. So there you go. That's it for like the swag. So let's get on with the actual games, which few there were. Now the first batch of games was completely free. This was a donation to the channel. As I mentioned with the Sega stuff, I tweeted out and blasted repeatedly like, hey, I'm going to be at E3 at the Sega booth. Anybody wants to meet up, be part of this video, let me know. I expected some people to show up, but this dude in particular surprised me. A guy named David showed up very, very briefly. He didn't want to be part of the video. He didn't want anything. He just wanted to meet me, say hello, and he handed me a few games. He's like, I just want to support the channel. Thank you very much. Now, of course, he didn't have to do that. And unfortunately, I don't have a way to contact him. He didn't give me any information. I know we took a photo, David. Hopefully you watch this video, you see this. If you still have that photo of us, tweet it out. Let me know. I'd love to retweet it and all that stuff. But I mean, if you don't, it's up to you. But either way, thank you very much. He basically gave me some older PS3 games. So again, didn't have to do that. Nobody, you don't ever have to do that if you meet me somewhere. I certainly do not expect stuff like that. But still, David, thank you very much for doing that. That was very nice of you. The games he gave me were Lair, Haze, Untold Legends Dark Kingdom, and Demon's Souls, which I believe this is kind of like the precursor to Bloodborne and Dark Souls. Wow. Yeah, I can't believe that's based on that one. But yeah, it's like the precursor to that. So that's very, very cool. So thank you again, David. That was very nice of you. And another donation I got on the channel comes from Kyle Vaughn. Now, a lot of you know who Kyle Vaughn is. I'm sure you've heard the name before. Patreon backer of mine. He appears in my podcast, like by name from time to time. And awesome guy. He's been supporting me for a while. And so one of my goals has been to get a complete original Xbox game set. And he's a big supporter of that concept. But lately, what I've been focusing on is just the European exclusives because I'm so close to being done with it. And he was very insistent and I wanted to help out. So he asked me just which ones were left. So I told him. And he said, okay, let me see what I can do. And just suddenly this game showed up. LMA Manager 2006. Certainly not a great game, but it is one that was on the list. It was one that's needed to check off. So thank you very much to Kyle for hooking me up with that. Obviously, we didn't have to do that. Game's in good shape, complete, all that fun stuff. So awesome, thank you very much. And now that we inch ever closer to that set being done. So that's awesome, thank you. And then there's only one real pickup as far as like stuff I bought this month, but it was a doozy. So I was in a bookstore, very briefly. And sometimes bookstores, sometimes it's hit or miss. Like you can get some video games in there, you can get no video games, which very often is the case. But sometimes you get video games, and you'll get video games that are cheap, and you just can't believe they're there. This was one of those instances. Colibri for the Sega 32X. Now, Sega 32X, obviously not one of history's most beloved platforms, doesn't have a whole lot of content either, something like 40 games, like really not much. But Colibri is one of the better ones. It's definitely not a common title either. It's basically a shmup where you play as like a hummingbird. It's not like the greatest game, don't get the wrong impression here, but it's, for the 32X, is a pretty good game. And it's, as far as I know, still an exclusive to the Sega 32X. I mean, minus like ROMs and shit, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it was never really brought to anything else as far as I know. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, it was just in a bookstore, man, cheap. They didn't really know what it was. Then I think that worked to my advantage, obviously because it was cheaper, but like, I was looking around, scouring around, like there must be more 32X content because nobody trades in Colibri by itself. You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? It's such a really, niche game. So I was convinced there had to be more, but nothing. There was nothing else. This was the only 32X game I could find. So I was happy to give it a good home. I even put it in one of those plastic cases, take good care of it and stuff, because of course 32X cases, for the most part, were paper. But yeah, so very, very cool to have that. Definitely the score of the month there for that kind of thing. So yeah, guys, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, thank you to David, and thank you to Kyle for that. Thank you to all the people who were cool enough to hook me up with stuff at E3. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.